Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. So today we are going to be working on a 2-in-1 TPN solution. So lots of reasons you might need the 2-in-1 solution. Maybe your patient's allergic to something in the 3-in-1 solution. Maybe you want to hold the lipids. Maybe your facility only carries the 2-in-1 solution. So we're going to be working with a 2-in-1 solution. So we have a 50-kilogram woman who is post-op surgery. We're going to assume she's well nourished at baseline. So we're going to start at her kind of full nutritional needs of what we estimate. I did some calculations here. So I used 20 to 30 calories per kilogram, and I got about 1,000 to 1,500 calories per day. And then I kind of figured out some loose protein needs here. So we used 1.25 to 1.5 grams per kilogram to get about 63 to 75 grams of protein per day. So that's how we got that. And I kind of just picked kind of a middle number in both of them, or kind of a number in the range. So we're going to aim to give about 1,350 calories and 65 grams of protein with our TPN solution. So this is our solution that we carry at our facility for the purpose of this video. So we have our 2-in-1 solution, our amino acid and our dextrose in one bag. So we have both of them are 5% amino acid. One of them contains 16% dextrose, and one of them contains 10% dextrose. So what that means is per liter of solution, it's about 50 grams of amino acid and 160 grams of dextrose, or about 50 grams and 10% or 100 grams per liter of dextrose. Then we have our lipid emulsion. So we only have one lipid at our facility, and it's 20% lipid. And just some things to note here, our lipids contain 2 calories per milliliter of solution. Our calories from fat are going to be 10 calories per gram. Our calories from dextrose are going to be 3.4 calories per gram, and our calories from protein are going to be 4 calories per gram. Okay, so we're going to get started. So this is about what we want to give her. The first step is to figure out kind of how much solution we want to give the patient. So our first step is figuring out our solution volume. So we're going to use protein to do this. So we're going to, like I said, the first step is figuring out our solution volume. So we're going to take 65 grams of protein, which is the amount we want to give the patient, and divide it by the percentage of amino acid in the solution. So we're going to divide, we're going to take 65 grams and divide it by about the 5% solution, and that should give you about 1,300 milliliters of solution. So this is approximately the volume we want to give the patient per day. So we need to figure out what our rate per hour is. So to figure out our rate per hour, we're going to assume that we're going to run our amino acid dextrose solution over 24 hours. So we're going to take kind of our estimated volume and divide it by 24 hours in a day to get our milliliters per hour. So it's going to be 54, about 54.16 milliliters. Do our total volume divided by 24 hours to get our hourly rate. Now this isn't a great hourly rate. It's not a whole number. We don't love that rate. So what we're going to do is we're going to round it up to about 55 milliliters per hour. So this is kind of the rate we're going for. So now we have to recalculate our total volume because we changed it a little bit. So it should be similar to 1,300, but it's not going to be exactly 1,300. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 55 milliliters per hour and times it by 24 hours in a day, and that's per day, and we're gonna get about 1,320 milliliters per day. So it's relatively similar number, but it's just a more kind of based on a more whole number per hour. Okay, so we figured out our solution volume. That's good. Now we need to figure out what kind of the composition of our solution volume is. So we will start with the protein. So step 2, we're going to say is protein. So we're going to determine how many grams of protein is in that solution, and also how many calories is in that solution. So we will take 1320 because that's our total volume per day, and we're going to multiply it by the percentage of amino acids in the solution. So ours is 0.05 if you remember, and that's just from our standard kind of solution, 5% amino acids. So ours is 0.05. So we're going to take 1320 and multiply by 0.05 to get 66 grams of protein, which is in 1320 milliliters of the solution. And this kind of makes sense because we knew in 1300 milliliters of solution we had 65 grams, but then we kind of rounded it to a whole number. Our solution went up 20 milliliters to 1320 milliliters. So now we have kind of an extra gram of protein. So now let's figure out how many calories are in 66 grams of protein, so we can kind of check if we're meeting our patient's calorie needs. So 66 grams of protein, and we should all know that protein contains 4 calories per gram. Our grams are going to cancel out, and we're going to get our total calories. So 66 times 4 is going to give you 264 calories. So we're getting, so our solution in our 1320 milliliter volume is giving us 66 grams of protein or 264 calories. So that's good to know. But now what's making up the rest of our amino acid solution? Well, dextrose, because we have a big volume and it's not all protein. So we're going to figure out how many calories in our 1320 milliliter solution are coming from dextrose now, and how many grams of dextrose as well. So third step, we're going to figure out our dextrose, our grams, and our calories as well. So we know that our total volume calculated in this step here is 1320 milliliters per day. We're going to do the exact same thing we did with the protein and multiply it by the percentage of amino acid, or the percentage of dextrose. So our dextrose, we're going to just try the first one first and see if it works. If it doesn't, we'll move on to the second solution and see if that works a little bit better, but we're going to start with this one. So 16% dextrose. So times it by 0.16, and that will give us how many grams of dextrose we're getting. So 1320 times 0.16 is going to give us about 211 calories. Or grams, sorry. So that's our grams of dextrose. Now we want to figure out how many calories this is. So we know the grams, but let's figure out the calories. So we know that our dextrose solution contains 3.4 calories per gram. So we will do 211.2 grams of dextrose times 3.4 calories per gram. Our grams are going to cancel out again, and that's going to give us a 211.2 times 3.4, about 718 calories from our dextrose. Okay, so now we know how many calories we have from our protein, and we know how many calories we have from our dextrose, so we can figure out how many calories are in 1320 milliliters of solution. So we're going to do 718 calories from dextrose plus 264 calories from protein, and that's going to give us 982 calories in our 1320 milliliters of TPN solution. So we have 982 calories. Is that enough calories? Well, no, we want to give her around 1350 per day. So now we have to figure out how many calories we want to give her from fat to make up our 1350 calories per day. So we got 718 calories from dextrose, 264 calories from protein, which gave us a total of 1982 calories, and we want to give the patient a total of around 1350 calories because it's kind of in her estimated calorie range. So we're going to take our total calories we want to give the patient, which is around 1350 per day. We're going to subtract that by the calories we're already providing with our amino acid dextrose solution. So we're providing her 982 calories with our amino acid and dextrose. So that's where that came from. How many calories do we have left that we have to make up with our fat solution? Well, we have 1350 calories is what we want to give her. We're giving her 982 in our amino acid and dextrose solution. So we have 368 calories left that we want to make up from our fat solution. So we know that our lipids contain, sorry, you can't see that, contain 2 calories per milliliter. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our 368 calories and we're going to divide that by 2 to get the milliliters needed of the lipid solution. So 368 divided by 2 is going to give me 184 milliliters. So I know that I need around 184 milliliters to make up the remaining 368 calories that we want to give her. So in our facility, our lipid solution runs over 12 hours. It's pretty standard to run it over 12 hours. So ours runs over 12 hours. So we're going to take our 184 milliliters of lipid and we're going to divide that by 12 hours to figure out the rate we want to run the lipids at. So 184 divided by 12 hours is going to give us about 15.3 milliliters per hour. And we will round down to 15 milliliters per hour. That's what we're going to round down to. So now we're just going to recalculate it using 15 to figure out how much we want to give her. So 15 milliliters per hour times 12 hours is equal to about 180 milliliters, which is a little bit nicer of a number than that one. So we need to give her 180 milliliters of lipid solution. So we want to give her 180 milliliters. We're going to figure out how many grams of fat that gives us. So 180 milliliters times, if you remember, our lipid solutions contain 20% lipid. So multiply it by 0.20 to get that 20% emulsion. And that's going to give us the amount of grams of lipid, or the amount of fat. So 180 times 0.2 is going to give you about 36 grams of lipid, or 36 grams of fat. So 36 grams of fat. And then if we go back to our little sheet, we know that our fat contains 10 calories per gram, and we have 36 grams. So if we times that by 10, we're going to get about 360 kcals from fat. And if we remember, we wanted around 368, so that's not bad. So we will just kind of recalculate this to figure out what our total calories are and where the calories are actually coming from. So from previously, we have, so we want to give, so let's calculate our total calories first. So if you remember, we have 360 from the fat, which is what we just did. Plus we have 982 from our amino acid dextrose solution, 718 from the dextrose, 264 from the protein, for a total of 982 calories from the amino acid and dextrose. But I'll just say 118 from the dextrose and 264 from the protein. You can just add the 982, whatever you want to do. And that is going to give us a total of, so 360 plus 718 plus 264, a total of 1,342 calories. Are we okay with this? How much did we want to give her? So we wanted to give her around 1,000 to 1,500, with somewhere around 1,350. I'm okay with this. 1,342, 1,350, that's the same thing to me. So that is good. And so if you guys remember kind of your macronutrient ranges from school, we like to give people around 45 to 65% carb, about 10 to 35% protein, and kind of about 20 to 35% fat. So those are kind of just your macronutrient ranges. It varies a little bit, but that's generally kind of what we recommend. So we're gonna check to make sure that we're roughly meeting those. So the way you do that is to get your kind of dextrose, you would just divide 718 by 1,342. So if we do that, 718 divided by 1,342, we get about 53%, 53.5%. So that's right in the range. We're happy with that one. Our protein, 264, divided by our total calories, 1,342, that's about 20%. So that's all right. I'm okay with that. So 19.6 or 20%. And then we want to just double check kind of our fat. So 360 divided by our total calories, which is 1342. And that's about 26%, 26.8% is our calories from fat. So those are all roughly right in the range. So now, once you're happy with kind of your calculations, you can write your TPN orders. This is very site specific. So however you write it at your facility, you might write something like, TPN orders 5% amino acids, 16% dextrose solution to run at 55 milliliters per hour times 24 hours per day for total volume of 1320 milliliters per day. And then you might rate your fat order like something like 20% lipid fat emulsion to run at a rate of 15 milliliters an hour times 12 hours for total volume of 180 milliliters per day of lipid solution. So anyway, it's very site specific, so whatever you guys write at your site, but I hope this gave you kind of a good general overview of standard 2-in-1 kind of solutions. I know this was an easy example, and maybe we'll do some more complicated examples down the road. But if you liked the video, please subscribe, like, and you can comment below kind of what kind of videos you would like to see in the future. Thanks so much for watching.